Hi everyone, I'm Hans for Precision Aerobatics. This video is going to cover 3 topics that aren't covered in our previous builds video guide series. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to need some good 30-minute epoxy. And go ahead and give it a good stir. Now we'll begin by wetting out our wooden areas in the motor box here in between the blind nuts. And so again, this video covers our latest design featuring the forward mount motors. Go ahead and wet this area out right here. I've already pre-cut some little squares of fiberglass cloth. We'll lay them in, grab some more epoxy, go ahead and really work that in there. We want it to be translucent when it's done, and we don't want any air underneath it. We want a nice good bond, so go ahead and pound out all your air. If you have any excess, you can wrap it around the sides. Don't worry about the way it looks, we can trim it up later. This part's a lot like what we've done in the past. You can trim up your fiberglass cloth here. And we go ahead and we wet out the area that we're going to be working with again and lay this cloth down. Get another glob of epoxy and roll it out. Get it all the way wet out. And again, it doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as there's no air underneath it. We want a good bond to the surface. We'll work the inside of the motor box here as shown, but make sure you don't get any epoxy where the motor mount is going to sit. We don't want to change the thrust angle of that motor mount, but we still need to go ahead and work these interior edges of the forward face of this motor box as shown here. Once everything's dry, good sharp hobby knife trims it all off, makes it look nice. This is the finished product here, the back side, after these little 4 areas have all been done. Now don't forget to do what's covered in the manual and the other build video series. All of these areas here, all of these joints and areas where the wood joins. We'll move on to motor cooling here. These are the new motor cooling, I don't really want to call them a duct, I don't know what to call them, diverter. They're made out of wood, they're laser cut, they're 3 little pieces. You'll need some medium, some thin, some thick CA, maybe a little kicker. And I use foam tack on another part of it here. Go ahead and set them all up. There's not a left and a right. Build them as so. And take some thin CA, set the edge down right there. That'll wick its way in and hold it. And then I like to grab some medium CA. You could use thick here as well. And apply it to both interior edges. Give it a nice build up there, a nice little gusset or fillet in the corner. And shoot it with some kicker to set it all off. That'll harden it up. All right, this next shot here shows how it's going to look. It's kind of a mock-up, both sides there. I did this side with medium CA. These are the areas that are going to contact the motor box. Just lay a little bead down on there and make sure it's all lined up just right. Little shot of kicker there to set it, and go back in with some medium or some thick and fill in any gaps that might be there. We want this bonded properly to the motor box. On this side I used a little foam tack instead of the CA, not to build it, but rather just to adhere it. And they work equally well. Whichever one you want to use is just fine. Here's what it looks like from the front. Now that's what you're going to see poking through the back side of that cowling right there, and that's going to feed the motor. All right, our landing gear cuffs. This is what they look like. We no longer use that little piece of black tubing. That was more hassle than what it was worth. Go ahead and stick the cuffs all the way up. Flip it over. You see we use a little blue tape here to mark the bottom of the landing gear cuff. Slide it back. Make sure that tape didn't peel on you. I like to use a little 3M VHB. You can use any double-sided tape you want. Needs to be a little thick, however. Go ahead and cut it to size. You don't need much. I'm going to point out the area where the landing gear cuff's actually going to contact that. Just a second. Give it a peel. And right there, that's the only area that's going to contact. You don't want the whole thing touching because it'll distort the landing gear cuff. We just need that little bottom edge. It's more than enough. Slide it back into position, give it a little press. Right there, that's the only part that's holding. You could still stick a little knife in there if you needed to release that. If you ever need to get that cuff off, give it a little peel. And there we are, we're ready to go flying. Doesn't that look great? Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope this video helps. Enjoy your PA airplane.